when you're winning. Get a goal, it's just the beginning. You gotta sing when you're winning. Everywhere you go. Everywhere you go. You gotta sing when you're winning. Get a goal, it's just the beginning. Sing, sing when you're winning. Everywhere you go.
Hello and welcome to episode 41 of the Sing When You're Winning, a Fantasy Football League oddity podcast featuring distant cousins of podcast royalty once again, and three very special guests this week, and we will reveal all very shortly. But waiting in line for the podcast throne once again this week, it's myself, Jamie. We have Steve, we've got Lee, and we've got Jersey. Chris. Oh, this Friday morning, how are you all doing?
Fantastic.
Good.
Very
We'll go
good.
with that one. Well, before we introduce our special guests this weekend, I want to ask you all who will win the FA Cup final and who will win Eurovision. I don't know which you're more bothered about, but there's a bit of a theme in this week's games, by the way, FA Cup and Eurovision. So get used to it. But yes, who wants to go first on FA Cup final? Who's going to win the FA Cup?
Yeah, I'm going to go for Palace. I think Palace are going to win it.
Yes.
I think Great Britain are going to get nil point, and someone like Israel are going to win it.
There is, I think it's very unlikely, but we shall see. Putting for that one. Lee, how about you?
I don't know. I don't know who's going to win. I hope that in the women's final that Manchester United win.
Of
maybe
course,
it might
there
be
are
Manchester
two FA Cup finals this weekend. You're right to correct
there
me.
are.
Well done.
There are. And as for Euros, Eurovision, I have absolutely no idea who's in it. I don't even know how it works nowadays. I don't know whether you get voted in, but I will say I'm going to go for Slovenia. They must have
If they're in.
an entrant. Yeah, they must do.
We'll
surely.
see. They might do. They might. I know the semi-finals taking place this week, but I've not watched that. I just like watching it for the voting at the end. It's the only reason for watching it, to be fair. Steve, if you can hear us, FA Cup final, who do you think?
Why not Palace? Let's say Palace.
I think we should all want Palace. I really want Palace to win. I absolutely would love it if Palace won. And Eurovision's the Milkshake Man, isn't there? Is singing a song. I heard that on the radio the other day. Everyone thinks the Milkshake Man might win it. Anyway, none of you know what I'm talking about. Watch it on Saturday night, people. Let's introduce our special guests, and we will talk about FA Cup final as well with those guys. But this week, we have three very special guests, all lining up to win the coveted Sing When You're Winning League title. All back for their second appearance on the pod. Let's give a very warm Sing When You're Winning podcast welcome to our special guests. In no particular order, we have Ed Chesters, Paul Chambers-Tonner, and Alistair Bruce Ball. Woo! Woo! Welcome back to the pod this Friday morning. So, who's feeling the pressure at the top of the tree then? We'll start with you, Paul.
I honestly, I feel like I've lowered my chance now. I feel like I had to beat Ed's because the points differential between Ali and Ed's and me is just too much to make up. I think if we all we can't all win our games because actually I've got Ali this weekend. So but I think either of them is going to win both of their matches, and then I think it's gone.
I think you've
had a run.
Psychology there.
Had a tough run in at the end with top of the table clashes. It's normally the other way around. So it's
got fifth on the last day as well. But I this weekend as well, because I knew Ed was going to play his bench boost against me, so I thought I have to do the same. I have to play my Uno reverse card, and finished with the third highest game week score in the league, but he finished with the highest. So it was gave it away. So so it was good victory for him. Well done, Ed. I will give you that one.
Thank you very much. It's all luck, isn't it? Really.
Well, it is look at the draw, isn't it? Most weeks, but yeah, it's interesting how the league, how the fixtures have thrown you all together so close at the end of the season as well. It's weird how that happens.
Well, we have very similar teams as well.
Yeah.
The only reason I got Tonali in is because, you know, I didn't know which of the 3 Newcastle wingers was going to play, so I just thought I'll go for one in the midfield.
Yeah,
so that was just a fluke, and he happened to score. He's only had 5 this season, so yeah, it's all luck, isn't it?
It is. It is a bit. I think it's fair to say, especially when you look at the top scores, and some people who are close to relegation have really high scores, but it's just obviously they've played the wrong people on the wrong weeks and all of that good stuff. But yeah, Ali, Paul seems to think that you're going to beat him. Do you think that's reverse psychology?
I do a little bit. I mean, I've got Paul's squad in front of me here because I've already lined up my. I've got Steve actually. I've got Steve in game week 38 as well. So I've obviously been having a look at my opponents and what chips they've got left and what have you. And I don't think either Paul or Steve have anything left on that front, but nor do I. I honestly think it's toss of a coin in our head-to-head this week. It's got to that stage of the season. I don't know whether everyone's sort of feeling the same, where I just wish I had 1 or 2 extra free transfers. I wish I had them stored up, because I just think, given with the FA Cup final coming this weekend, you've no idea about those Crystal Palace and Manchester City lineups coming on, you know, next week in the Premier League, and I've got quite a few of their players. And it's that thing as well, is I mean, captaincy is going to be crucial, as it always is, when we've got fairly similar squads. If one of us goes to captain one player and someone goes for someone else, that could probably decide it. So it's making that call. And it's also that, do you take a -4 and go for something a little bit different just to try and get an edge? But you obviously take a backward step to try and take the big step forwards. I'm quite cautious. I'm not giving anything away. I'm quite a cautious manager, so I think I'm unlikely to do that, Paul. But you never know.
Just note that down.
It's Leicester and Ipswich as well this week. So normally you'd look at those two and think, right, who's playing Ipswich or Leicester, and kind of get a striker up there. But it's a tough one. Yeah, it's good shout.
The FPL experts on the FPL app have been ranking what they class as the best differentials for the final 2 game weeks, and what they're saying is these are players who are owned by under 10% of managers and can help those chasing to make big gains. And Vardy comes out quite highly with is the top pick basically for this coming weekend. I hasten to say that they all said we should jump on De Bruyne last weekend, and I did, and I massively regretted it. So obviously they're not always right, but you've got to fancy Vardy after his he's after his 200th goal.
Yeah, I was just about to say that.
Surely it's going to happen. So Vardy seems like a big one. Another name that is coming up quite a lot is Neto as well. Who again is a good shout, and surprising to think that he's in less than 10% of managers' teams. And the third one that is jumping out is Kevin Schade from Brentford. So if you had 3 transfers, or even if you had 3 transfers, they're the 3 that everyone's saying you should go for if you want to have that differential and get ahead in the last 2 games.
I think, though, do you know what? When you listen, I mean, we've had the same thing doing our podcast this week, is for most of the season, you know, Statman Dave will give out his advice, and so will Chris, and it's fairly useful for everyone. I think things get so situation specific in the final weeks of the season, in terms of, you know, a differential in the overall game might get you a big old green arrow, but it actually depends more who you're up against. It's at this point of the season you really need to look at it, particularly in leagues like this, at the head-to-head matchup, and maybe even try and second guess what your opponent's going to do, and you know, and go the other way, or match it if you think that's what they're going to do. But I mean, I'm missing Jared Bowen. He's one in the overall game that I can see Bowen sitting there in Paul's squad. He worries me in the last 2 game weeks, Bowen.
Bang on form. He's probably the most informed midfielder, I think, at the minute.
Yeah, he's been quiet a lot of the season, hasn't he? But he does seem to have picked it up.
Yeah, last 3 games, I think he's got around 30 points, I think, something like that. Last 3. So.
stuff.
It's just as well because Forest have stopped playing entirely. I mean, that's pretty much what it did for me against Eds, throwing in 2 goals against Leicester. Fault as well.
Yeah, and Forest, you just don't know how will they respond to what happened at the weekend. Obviously, they've had the major PR statement that's kind of telling everyone to quiet down, that there's no problem here. But sometimes I think that just adds fuel to the fire, and you wonder, are they choking right at the last? I mean, they've had a fantastic season regardless, but it just feels like the pressure's maybe getting to them a bit. And if the pressure's coming from the owner as well, potentially, then that must be a strange place to be right now if you're not in there.
And the fact that Marinakis has an iPhone 7 or something, that was like the biggest news I saw this week. So he's not going to be spending lots on players, is he, if he's got an iPhone 7? He's very shrewd.
Yeah, who knows? Steve, are you loud and clear now?
Hello. I can hear Eds as well. That's brilliant.
I'm sure Crystal Palace will win the FA Cup.
Yes, we're going to quickly go around that as well. Well done, Eds. Yes, so you think Palace for the Cup?
Yeah, and Czechia for the Eurovision.
Okay. Cool.
Well, my wife's going to Prague this weekend with some friends.
Fair enough.
It'll be nice for her, won't it, if they win?
It will. We'll be cheering them on Sunday night if we're watching it. Ali, how about you? FA Cup, you can go men and women's finals and Eurovision there. Have the hat trick.
Yeah, I think. Well, I mean, for the women's final, Chelsea have to be favourites, don't they? I know they've not won the Champions League this season, but I would tip them. I would tip them to win that. Palace, Manchester City. I think that's a really tough one to call. I've been really, really impressed with slow start to the season for Crystal Palace, but fully firing again now. And Manchester City are quite up and down, and actually difficult as always to predict the lineup that Guardiola's going to go with for the final. Whether he's going to sort of keep his cup team in inverted commas, the De Bruyne one is really interesting, I think, for the final. The Haaland as well being back in the mix. You'd imagine he will start the game. Yeah. I fancy Palace's chances. I fancy Palace's chances, and I think from the narrative sort of journalistic story point of view, that would be incredible, wouldn't it, for Crystal Palace to have a team that's never won the FA Cup, to win the FA Cup in an age particularly where that competition is dominated by the big clubs, whatever the stat is over the last 30, 40 finals, they always feature those 5 or 6 clubs. Eurovision, not a clue. I flicked across the semi-final on Thursday night and saw 3 different acts, all of whom looked vaguely similar to me, but looked so Eurovision. Like, if you know Eurovision, as soon as you turn on the telly, it just looked so Eurovision. I'll go France. No idea. Let's go France.
Good. They're a safe pick. They're one of the top 5 countries who are always in it as well, aren't they? Right. They pay the money into it like the UK do. So yeah, they're always there or thereabouts. Right. How do I know all this stuff about Eurovision? Seriously, I'm not that big a fan, but I do watch the final every year. Paul, how about you?
Well, I mean, in the women's FA Cup final, Chelsea and Man U, it's like asking me to pick what's my favourite turd. So, if they
what
could
is it? Which one?
Yeah, if they could both have a very bad day, that would be great. I guess, gun to head, let's say Chelsea over Man United. I just can't support Man United anything. Just don't have it in me. And the men's, I actually think Palace will do it. I think they've got to be one of the most informed sides in the Premier League at the minute, right? And they've played some absolutely phenomenal stuff at the weekend. And City obviously stuttered against Southampton. So I think Palace will give them some real problems, hopefully. Yeah. Eurovision, again, not a clue.
No clue.
No.
Well, your lack of Eurovision knowledge might come into play a bit later on in the show.
That's not to say no previous knowledge, just this particular year.
Yes, just this particular year. Okay, fair enough. So let's have a look at the leagues then. And Steve, now we've got you loud and clear. You can tell us what's been happening across all of the when you're winning leagues this week.
It's been a busy time. Business End is very much with us now. So let's start with the Cup, where Tom Bird, who's one of the title contenders that's not turned up tonight, he beat you, Ali. unfortunately, knocked you out of the cup. Chris Dawkes beat Anton Gregory, beat Tom Roberts, who was upholder. He beat him by 1 point. And Grace Maloney beat Ben Halliwell by Ben making an extra transfer. The semi-final then will be Tom Gregory versus Grace Maloney and Tom Bird versus Chris Dawkes. Into the Conference League, the highest score there was a 79 for Rob Lally. Finn was next up. He got a 63 and he beat Ben Halliwell, which Ben didn't need. Also slipping up at the top with Joe Singleton, who lost to Duke Witter. Neil Robertson lost versus Maddox. But Pete Martini won the title and promotion by beating one of his rivals, Natalie Pike. So league table there now is Pete Martini up as champions with 79. Second now is Sophie Ridge with 72. Third, Ben Halliwell, 70. Then the playoffs are Natalie Pike, 68. Neil Robertson, 67. Joe Singleton, 66. Grace Maloney, 65. And Vicky Sparks trying to catch her with 62. League One, a very high score there, 89 for Lee Nicholson, who beat one of his promotion rivals, Anton Witter. Alex Renton got a 78, and Jamie Hurst, who got promoted about 3 weeks ago, lost for the third time. And at the bottom, there were wins for Craig Wilson, Nathan Tim Bresnan, Gareth Youngs. So all them winning, meaning despite Chesney's relegated. Joining joining Magic Mox, who was relegated last week. Into the championship, then there's a 78 for Jim, and he beat Tom Gregory, which means Jim has also won the title there and promoted, and means Tom can't make the promotion race there now. Swanee beat relegation rival Rich Lay, 77-62. And the other relegation wins for Joe Derrick versus Andrew Clancy, and Mark Morris and Alistair Griffin, who beat Jonas, who's bottom. And Tim Ward beat Carl to get the second promotion place. So it's only playoffs left in the championship for you, Jamie, there.
Yeah, I've got no chance, though, because Tim got promoted. You told me that.
Yeah. No, it's not. It's not totally done there, but
okay.
Jim Daly is up then, champion 79. Second is Tim Ward. He's up with 72. Then the playoffs are Tom Gregory with 65, Stu Dunn with 64, Phil Pinder with 63, you, Jamie, 60. And then three teams behind you, Henry, Andrew Clancy, and Cole Jenkins on 57. As I said, Tom Gregory does win all of those games unless Cole gets in the playoffs, and then he doesn't win the playoffs. So it's complicated. Down at the bottom, I've got to mention it, although she won't. Nick has 48 points and is technically safe, and I've told her that, but she doesn't like me telling her that. So she's still a little bit stressed. Then behind her, she's got Joe Derrick, Graham Swan with 45, Mark Morris 45, Dave Atkins 43. The bottom three is Rich Lay with 43, Alistair Griffin 42, and Jonas miles behind on 28, and is already relegated. So Premier League, that's where the real business is.
Yeah.
The three top scores in that division came from the top four, as Eds hit 77, unfortunately, against Paul, who got a very good 69, but lost. Second best was from Tom Bird, who's 72, relegated Michelle Gale. Bottom, John Gregory by just 3 points. That relegated John Gregory. So bottom three there is Dan Stewart with 38 points. Then the bottom three, Faris Badwan with 33, 5 points behind. So he has to win both games, Faris, and Dan has to lose both games. And Rail 31 and John Gregory with 30. At the top, Alistair Bruce Ball, 69 points. Ed Chester's 69 points. Paul Chambers Tonner's 69 points. And fourth place, Tom Bird, 68 points. And Tom is the only one of those. Tom is the only one of those four that's drawn twice this season. So if he'd have got wins in those games, he would have been clear. So there we are with the league tables. That's where we stand. A little look at how you four have been getting on. Ali, you had a terrible start to the season, losing 9 of your first 14 games.
DL.
But has only lost twice since January.
Wow.
Where you were midway there at the halfway point. Eds, you've been top 3 all season. Although you have got a reputation for finishing second, which is a bit of a worry.
Yeah.
Paul also had a slow start. You were 13th after 10 games. But generally, you've been top since Mark Summerton, Mark Summerton's the current champion, and he had a blazing start to the season. I think he only lost twice in the first half of the season and looked like he was going to walk away with it. But then he's totally collapsed and got nowhere. Paul took over, but now you've had a bit of a collapse. You've lost 4 of your last 9 matches. Tom Bird was also mid-table up to Christmas. He has also only lost twice since Christmas, though, so he's back in the game as well. So it's very tight between all 4 of you.
It is. Who do you think is going to win?
Well, I've had a little bit of an in-depth look at how everyone's got on, and amongst the 4 of you, when you've played each other, Ali has done the best. He's beaten Eds, he's beaten Paul, although he's got him to play again this week, and he's beaten Tom. So he's beaten all of the rivals so far. Paul, you lost to Ali, lost to Eds, and beat Tom. I lost to Eds twice, Paul. So obviously, Eds has done quite well out of that, and Tom lost to 2 of you, only beating Eds. Elsewhere, what have I got? So I've got some little bits of stats on how you've all done previously. Ali, you've finished 3rd in Sing When You're Winning. You were promoted in 2023, having beaten Tom Bird on goal difference on the final day of the season, and finished 5th last year. Tom Bird has also finished 3rd. He missed out, came up with Michelle, and also lost his cup final on that final day, so he's got a bad reputation. Paul, you've played for 14 seasons in Sing When You're Winning and played in the original league. Ooh. The other guys have only played short term, although Eds has played 8 seasons now, and Eds has finished 2nd twice in 2019 and 2022, and he finished 6th in 2018.
And narrowly avoided relegation last year.
Excellent. Paul, I always mock Paul for finishing 5th, but actually he's only ever finished 5th once. Though he has finished, and now this is from 2016, he's finished 4th, 3rd, 8th, 5th, 2nd, 10th, 3rd, 4th, and 6th. If you add all them together and divide them, his average position is 5th. So it does work. So it does kind of work out.
Yes, of course. But he won't be finishing 5th this year.
It's mathematically possible.
Is it? Okay.
I did check. I can actually finish 6th, I think, from here.
Oh,
really?
Not that I'm a pessimist. But.
None of us are on this.
If teams finish, I should know this, but I'm just checking with you guys. If teams finish level on points at the end of the season, it'll be overall score, will it? So Tom Bird is the highest score at the moment, isn't he? On 2375.
I'll trust you on that.
Yeah. I'm just looking at the table in front of me.
You can't be too far behind, though. I think.
No, I'm not. I'm 4 points behind that. But, there's every chance. There's every chance 2 players or 3 players will finish level on points here, isn't there?
Yeah. But now looking at it, Ali, you're well clear of Eds and Paul. And Tom's got more work to do, hasn't he? Really, Tom's relying on some losses there, isn't he? Really?
Well, yeah. I'm not confident against Paul this weekend. I mean that. I really mean that.
I can absolutely.
This is just like bullying. This.
You're gonna make me do something crazy with my transfer. Now.
Yeah, that's right. Goad you into it. Yeah.
But just looking at scores, just in the wider league, I think Jim Daly's likely to hit 2,500 points this weekend. I mean, that's phenomenal.
Crazy that, isn't it?
He's on 2,460, so he's the highest out of all Sing When You Winning members, and yet it's very unlikely he won't get 2,000. If he hits 2,500 and Palace win the FA Cup, I'm sure he'll be a very, very happy man.
I don't know. What's his overall game rank? It must be quite good.
I can't see it on the league
table
I'm looking at.
Hang on. His overall rank is inside the top 20,000 just.
Wow.
Bro.
Yeah, that's seriously good.
Yeah. Excellent stuff.
Nice.
So yes, but no, there's some very, very, very high scores, of which some of you are high scorers, which is good to see. Cool. Well, good luck, whoever wins. To be fair, I think to get it this close and this tight at the end of the season is really something. So we'll see what happens over the next 2 game weeks. But shall we chat a little bit more around? We've done the Meet the Manager before. You've all been on. So as it's FA Cup final, we'll keep that going. What is your favourite ever FA Cup final? And we'll go around each of you, including the panel, on this one. So I'll kick off while you're thinking. My favourite FA Cup final has to be, Lee, Coventry against Spurs, 1987. It was one of the first FA Cups I properly remember watching. And I remember watching it at my grandparents' house and getting massively excited that Coventry would beat, like the underdog, beat Spurs. And I'll never forget that. It was a phenomenal game of football. So that would probably be my favourite one that I've seen. Anyone else want to go next?
Well, Leeds never really bothered the FA Cup much, so it's not like I can pick a league for it.
No.
But yeah, like you say, I think it's the early ones, the first ones you watch out, the ones that you remember when you're a kid. And I think Man United Brighton was probably the first one I remember really sitting down watching, and
yeah,
so that was fun. And then, but I think the Norman Whiteside extra time winner against Everton, that was quite a memorable cup final. Also, the Coventry one I enjoyed because Keith Houchin used to play for York, so it was quite good to see him score the winning goal.
Good stuff. Yeah, no, it was a cracking one. But yeah, I remember the Whiteside final as well. I think that was probably the first one I ever sat down and watched as a kid, to be fair. But yeah, good stuff. Anyone else want to come in on FA Cup finals that particularly love, Ali?
Yeah, I was going to, of a similar generation, I think my favourites are those ones in the 80s. So Ipswich won it in 78. I was only 5 then, so I don't have proper memories of that, although that would have to go down as the favourite because they won it. Yeah. But the Whiteside goal in that final to win it, so Manchester United are down to 10 men in that final. I think Kevin Moran got sent off. And that goal is one of my favourite FA Cup final goals, particularly when they show it from that camera angle behind Whiteside, because he curls that ball beyond Southall. He uses the defender, I can't remember who the defender was, as a sort of shield, and he curls that ball around him. It's such a brilliant goal to win an FA Cup final. So I think that would be definitely up there for me.
Excellent.
Yeah, it was one of those schoolyard balls, wasn't it? When if you curled one in at school, you'd be, it was a Norman Whiteside.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah.
Cracking stuff. Eds, how about you?
I remember the Newcastle Arsenal in the 90s, 96 or 97. Of course, we lost.
Yeah.
We're still waiting for that elusive next FA Cup. Maybe next year, hey.
Well, you know, now you've got the Carabao Cup in the bag.
Yeah.
There's a taste for it, isn't it, on Tyneside?
That's
for sure.
It. Yeah. It's sort of proof of concept, isn't it? We can do it.
Yeah, exactly. But is there any FA Cup finals you've enjoyed then? Because obviously you wouldn't have enjoyed that Newcastle Arsenal game.
No.
No,
nothing springs to mind.
Yeah, you weren't getting out of bed at 8 AM and watching FA Cup grandstand or anything like that. or
I didn't really get into football till I was in my 20s.
Yeah, we talked about that last time. I remember. Yeah.
More recent ones, but I mean, obviously that Wimbledon one was exciting, wasn't it? But I think I've seen the replays. I'm not even sure I even watched the match. But like it's been, everyone's seen the replays, haven't they? Yeah, documentaries about it and stuff.
Yeah.
Who did they beat? Was it Liverpool?
Liverpool, yeah. Which when Liverpool were arguably at the height, it was just that was one of probably the biggest shock of all time, possibly in the FA Cup final. I
That
would
was
say.
John Motson's line was the crazy gang have beaten the culture club, wasn't it? And that,
that's
that
the
was
one.
the commentary line for that one.
Just that, that was it. Nobody saw that coming. Nobody at all saw that result coming. I don't think. But it was a good one. Anyone else? Paul, how about you?
Yeah, I kind of growing up in the 90s when my football watching was at its peak, but I always remember them being a massive build-up and then a really drab final. So like the Liverpool Man U one, where it was the Spice Boys, that the build-up I swear was months long, and then it was an awful game. Same with the Borough Chelsea one, where Di Matteo scored within like a minute.
Worst final ever.
And I thought, great, what a goal! Here we go, and then nothing. Yeah. So I'll go for the Wigan win actually over Man City.
Yeah.
For a modern, I don't think it was a particularly great game from what I remember, but the result was, it doesn't normally go that way, so a modern romantic one, I guess.
Definitely. Yeah. No, that was good. Who wants to go next? Jersey Chris, how about you?
Yeah, again, Leeds hate the FA Cup, so don't really have many good memories of it. But one stands out was Liverpool West Ham. Gerrard scored a screamer. Was it 3-2? 2005, 2006 was it?
2006.
Yeah. I mean, the goals in that game were absolute screamers, all of them. So, and a close second as well was Liverpool Arsenal. It was Owen scored as well.
Yeah,
Owen scored the winner, didn't he?
They were both Cardiff.
Was that the Millennium Stadium?
Yeah,
as well?
I think they were both Cardiff finals that you're talking about there. Yeah, definitely. And Lee, how about you?
Actually, 2013 final, Wigan versus City was my cousin works for City, and she got me tickets, and I had to wear a City top and everything, and like living in Wigan at the time and all that sort of stuff, and it was just like fantastic atmosphere, all the City fans doing the Poznan and all that sort of thing. But my favourite is the 81 Cup final replay, to be honest with you, because the Cup final was pretty crap, but when just the Ricky Villa goal and Tottenham beating City 3-2 is just like, that's kind of what a cup final should be like, or what we expect them to be like. I mean, they rarely are. They're a bit of a drab affair. So I'd say the 81 replay would be my favourite, and Ozzy singing about doing it for Tottenham and stuff like that. So yeah, there was a lot going on there.
All right, definitely. And obviously you had the beaten Forest in 91 as well.
Yeah, well, just we don't win much, do we?
Yeah. At least you win something, though.
I was 10 years old at the time, and this was kind of, so I was when I grew up, I was an Ipswich fan. So like at junior school, because they had a goalkeeper called Paul Cooper, and despite my 5'8" frame at the moment, at school I was quite tall, so I was a goalkeeper. So I always thought, he's called Paul Cooper, he can save penalties like you've never seen in your entire life. He was kind of like a forerunner of all these great keepers. So I thought, I'm going to be an Ipswich fan. And then I saw Glenn Hoddle play football and thought, actually, I want to be a midfielder now. I'm going to grow my hair. I'm going to get it permed at the back. And so like around that time, I became a Spurs fan. So it was a Spurs fan, bit of glory, and then disappointment since.
Yeah. Well, you say since you've got a cup final to look forward to in a couple of weeks' time, we'll probably cover that on next week's pod.
It's a week today, I think. No, a week. When are we? Friday? Yeah, it's on Wednesday or Thursday. Next Thursday.
Yeah. We shall cover it off because we could get into a long conversation about whether both teams should just lose on the fact that they've had shit seasons. But I'll save that one for next week, to be fair. So we've had Sing When You Win in Superfan, and we've all taken part in that. So we're going to have FA Cup Superfan this week. So all questions on the FA Cup final. The history of the FA Cup final. So, because there's three of you, rather than get you all to do buzzers and Wi-Fi messing up, you'll each get 5 questions each. And we've used classic ChatGPT 1 to 100 because some of them are really easy and some of them are really obscure. You have to pick a number from 1 to 100. We'll take it in turns, and Lee, I tell you what, Lee, you can keep score if that's all right.
Yeah.
And I'll ask each one individually. But yeah, we won't be timing this. We'll just ask 5 questions each, if that's all right. So, in no particular order, we'll start with you, just because you're at the top of my screen. Eds, pick a number between 1 and 100.
13.
13. Lucky for some. Question 13. Who scored in 4 different FA Cup finals?
Steven Gerrard.
According to this, it's Didier Drogba for Chelsea in 2007, 2009, 2010, and 2012.
Yeah, I wouldn't dispute that.
Yeah.
I haven't got any clue. I'm not going to get any right.
It's ChatGPT. Anyway, Ali, you're next between 1 and 100, not 13.
4.
Number 4 is which final fairly known as the Matthews final?
Which year? Well, it was
A year
that's
or
Black-
who played? You can.
yeah, it's Blackpool Bolton in 53.
Bang on. Yes.
Oof.
So that's a point for you.
Impressive.
Paul. It is impressive knowledge. Pick a number.
12.
12. We're all going low without numbers, aren't we? Which final had there's 2? So which final? These will be amazing if you do. Had the most scored. There's 2 finals, both 7 goals scored.
I feel like there was a 4-3 not that long ago. I say not that long ago. We could be talking 90s, but in my mind, it's not that long ago.
The other day.
Oh God. I feel like Arsenal were in one, but I'm not sure. I have no idea.
No, it was in 1890. Blackburn beat Sheffield 6-1. But the 53 final that was just mentioned, also 7 goals apparently. Blackpool 4, Bolton 3.
Yeah.
Well,
The thing about that final is that Stan Mortensen scores a hat-trick, but it gets called the Matthews final.
Yeah. That's you looking at it. That's the joy of football, isn't it? People don't always remember that.
Yeah.
Cool. So back to you, Eds. Pick a number.
99.
Oh, make me scroll for this one. 99. This is random. Random. Which player scored the most goals in FA Cup finals at the new Wembley Stadium?
Didier Drogba?
Yes. That's when you play a matching game and you have to like turn over 2 cards to get a match. You just got a match. Well done.
Out of 100 cards.
Yeah.
Magic mod.
Ali, back to you.
21, please.
21. So, which club has the longest gap between FA Cup wins?
Poor. Longest gap, crikey. Liverpool.
Portsmouth.
Yeah.
69 years between 1939 and 2008.
Oh, yeah,
That was on-
yeah.
That was on TalkSport this week, actually.
Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, Ali's probably not allowed to listen to TalkSport. We've got to forgive
We
him
didn't
for
miss
that.
anything. We didn't miss anything.
Paul, how about you?
50, please.
50, right in the middle. So, question is, which team did Chelsea do in the 2018 FA Cup final?
See, I've stopped paying attention to the FA Cup because Leeds are just awful. They never paid attention past the 4th round. Was it Man U?
Was Man U. We've got one each after two rounds. We'll do a third one because this might try it. We'll do one more round. Everyone's on one. Heads, pick a number.
Good year for the Blue Tones, 96.
96 is which player scored this is worded badly, but which player scored the latest goal in an FA Cup final? So not in extra time, the latest in normal time in an FA Cup final. I'll give you a clue. We've mentioned this goal already.
I was going to say, is it that one? Yeah.
Have we?
We have. We've
I should
mentioned
have been listening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to tell you, I think you're out of time. It was Steven Gerrard in 2006.
Right.
Very late goal. So, yes. Ali, over to you.
44, please.
44 is... Which club was the FA Cup at the new Wembley Stadium?
Oh. Chelsea?
Yes, was in 2007. But Paul, this is to stay in the game or Ali, your number?
77.
In which... Oh, this is a stinker. In which year the FA Cup final first scored in extra time?
Jeez.
Oh.
Just because you're a Leeds fan, this Paul.
Oh. No, that wasn't. 73.
It was 76. Well, 1876. So,
Yeah, I meant 1873.
yeah, you made it.
I'm close.
So, congratulations to you, Ali. You are our FA Cup super fan. Using that random GPT.
That is
congratulations.
luck of the draw again.
It was.
Just
But
like
still
our
good
beloved
football.
FPL.
Still good football and knowledge in there as well. As we mentioned last week, moving swiftly on, Bletchley Scott have finished their season. They're feet up for the season now. So we will move on. And the final thing we're going to do on this week's pod, again, we've got the three of you. We're not going to be playing Shooting Stars in Their Eyes this week, which I know will disappoint some of our regular listeners. But we are going to go back into... I've been using ChatGPT again. For Eurovision finalist or FA Cup final footballer. So I'm going to name a person, and you have to tell me whether they have previously been a Eurovision finalist or a footballer who's played in the FA Cup final. So just shout out, basically shout out. So the first person that we have here is Tommy Cash. Has Tommy Cash played previously at some point in the FA Cup final, or is he a previous Eurovision finalist? What do we think?
I'm going to go footballer.
I will. Yeah, I agree. Footballer.
I mean, it's a good quality footballer's name.
Yeah.
And Tommy Cash raced down the wing. And
I've got Euros.
Yeah, well, you'd be right, Lee. He's an Estonian Eurovision finalist.
Obviously, I'm well up with that.
Traditional Estonian name.
So there you go, exactly. Tommy Cash, the Estonian singer. Who knew? Right. Next one is Jackie Stamps.
I'm going footballer.
Yeah, footballer.
I'm going football on that.
Footballer from 1876.
Anyone think Jackie Stamps was singing for Slovenia or something like that?
To be contrary, I'll go Eurovision.
Okay. Jackie Stamps played for Derby County in 1946. So, there you
Up the
go.
Rams.
Yes, indeed. Next one is Claude Kiambe.
Eurovision.
Euros, yeah, definitely Euros.
Yeah,
I'm going football for that one.
It's
Euro.
It's Netherlands. Claude Kiambe sang for the Netherlands in that one. And we'll play two more then. The next one is Sailor Brown.
Sailor Brown.
Is Sailor Brown singing?
I'm going to go Eurovision.
Okay.
Same.
I'm going, 1888 footballer.
I mean, you would think that. How about you, Eds? Have you got a view on Sailor Brown, Eurovision, or footballer?
Absolutely no idea.
No idea.
What? How would anyone know?
Well, this is the point. They're not obvious. They're not obvious. But Sailor Brown played for Charlton Athletic in 1946.
Oh, it's close.
There you go. And the last one, simply JJ.
JJ.
Euro.
KJ. That's got to be
Gotta be
Eurovision.
Euros.
As long as it's not.
Because anyone with a name
Yeah,
like
like it's not a
KJ,
coach,
if they were a footballer, we'd know about it.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
would think you'd know about it, wouldn't you? Yes,
Or Bob
JJ
Boyd.
was a Eurovision finalist for Austria, also in 2025. Other people that the ChatGPT thought you might be fooled by was Kevin Keegan, Steve Highway, John Toshak, Phil Neal, Kenny Dalglish, Graham Souness. So I just ignored all of those.
Great singers, all of them.
Yes, exactly. Well, I mean,
Especially Kevin Keegan, wasn't it?
I've been watching Kevin Keegan on this Friday morning as a singer. But yes, that was our tribute to the FA Cup final grandstand and all that nonsense that they used to do. A bit of an FA Cup special and Eurovision for this coming weekend. But that has been our Sing When You're Winning, the race to the title preview special with 2 games to go. So a huge, huge thank you to Paul, to Ali, and to Eds for joining us this Friday morning.
We've also got a few messages, Jamie, as well. There's a few.
Yes. We're going into extra time this Friday morning.
A few messages from former champions who wanted to wish you all well.
Brilliant.
So, firstly, one was Lee. Anyway, Lee sent me one. What did Lee have to say? That from his wisdom, he says that today you'll be a tactical genius and a football whisperer, a prophet in a sea of casuals. But beware, because next week your triple captain will get benched and your transfer masterstroke could pull a hamstring in the warm-up. Enjoy it while you can. It's a short battery life. Mark Summerton, last year's champion, current champion for another couple of weeks. He sent me loads of stuff which I can really hardly chew through. Basically, you're as good as your last chip. His rot started as soon as Ed's played his sneaky chip against him. Apparently, you started his rot.
He was going to run away with it.
He goes
Someone had to
on.
do
He
something
goes
for
on.
the greater good.
Someone had to stop him.
Picked him up.
He says it's nice that there'll be a new champion though, but for him it will be Ed's because he's won it. He's nearly won it a few times, so he's rooting for you, Eds.
Okay.
I don't know, Lee. Lee, who are you rooting for?
I'm rooting for football. Fancy Premier League. That's what I'm rooting for.
Stu Dunn, he was champion in 2019. He also feels Eds has been unlucky and came second when he won it anyway. So I think you drew it that season, lost on score difference, didn't you? So he thinks that. He says he's got no wisdom to offer, otherwise he'd still be in the top league as well as Lee. And finally, couldn't let it go, obviously, without getting Adam to comment on anything. Adam was champion in 2016, 2017, 2018, and a great rival of Ed's and Bandmate, obviously. And he was eager to send his love. But he says, can you ask Ed, are there any more ways in which he can bottle actually winning something? And if so, how are you planning on bottling this time?
Well, I think I'm up against a triple captain next week. Yeah. So honestly, I don't think it's mine. I think I'll be lucky if I finish second.
The one way you definitely don't want to not win it, that doesn't even make sense, does it? But it's missing the deadline. Because it's a Friday.
I'm all over that,
isn't it? It's a Friday deadline this week, so got to be on it.
No. Yeah. And then final day, it could be one of those where whoever you've picked as captain might not even be playing.
Exactly.
Yeah. Could be anything.
Yes.
And Adam signed off his message. Adam signed off his message, Ed, saying lots of love, serial trophy winner, men.
Yeah. Thanks.
That
Alan.
is shit.
Great stuff. Great stuff. Well, as Ali just said, don't forget the deadline is tonight. If you listen to this Friday morning at 6 o'clock. So be on that. And also don't forget there's lots of football to watch this weekend. We've got 2 FA Cup finals Saturday and Sunday. And we've also got Eurovision tomorrow night for those who might be interested. See if the milkshake man wins. Apparently, people are talking about him. You can follow us on Twitter at SWYW _FPL. The double underscore is important. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can leave us a comment, so like someone did last week, and debated whether we were right about when Brazil won the World Cup. And I went back and said yes, and they came back and said, okay, cool. So we can have conversations like that on YouTube if you really want to. And we might even discuss it in next week's show.
Who was that? Who was that? Was it what?
Random person who obviously had watched the episode with Nikolai. And
we've had a lot of Nikolai love.
Wanted to comment on it. So, hey, I'll take any chat. It's all good.
It gets likes and comments every day on Instagram. Somebody called Jamie Lannister's son or something, or whatever. They've all got Game of Thrones
still watching
names.
It weeks on. They're still watching
Dragon
it.
Lover and all sorts. It's just random people.
It's very good. It keeps the ratings going. We like it. But thanks to everyone. Good luck in the last 2 games of the season. Thanks to Lee, Jersey, Chris, and Steve once more. Enjoy your footballing week. Keep on singing and keep on winning. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Cheers.